You know, in any hospital, one of the biggest, most common dangers to a patient isn't some rare disease. It's something much simpler, a fall. It's a huge challenge in healthcare. But what if we could actually predict who's at risk before they fall? Well, today we're diving into a really innovative tool designed to do exactly that. So just to get a sense of the scale of this problem, let's start with a number: $50 billion. That's the mind-blowing cost every single year just for non-fatal fall injuries. It's a number that puts a massive financial strain on the whole healthcare system. But you know, it's not just about the money. Behind those billions are people. We're talking over 800,000 patients hospitalized each year because of an injury from a fall. Every single one of those is a person whose life gets turned upside down with pain and a long recovery. So when you put that together, the crazy financial cost and the very real human cost, it's easy to see why preventing falls is such a top priority. It's about so much more than the balance sheet. It's about keeping people safe. Right, so in the healthcare world, falls are called an adverse event. And the key thing to know is that they are super common, incredibly expensive, and a lot of them are actually preventable. That's a huge incentive for hospitals to figure out a really solid, systematic way to know who is most likely to be at risk. So, how in the world do you tackle a problem this big? Well, this is where a really smart, evidence-based solution comes into the picture, developed by some of the best researchers and doctors out there. And that solution comes from Johns Hopkins Medicine, which is, of course, a world-renowned name. Just hearing that name tells you that this tool we're about to look at is the real deal, backed by serious research and a deep, deep understanding of patient care. Okay, so it's called the Johns Hopkins Fall Risk Assessment Tool, or JHFRAT for short. And what it is, at its heart, is a system for sorting patients by risk level. It gives clinicians a way to look at a patient and, based on real evidence, spot their fall risk early on so they can step in before anything bad happens. And the benefits here are huge. For starters, it standardizes everything. Everyone gets assessed the same way. And what does that lead to? Well, you see real measurable drops in how many patients fall, and even better, a drop in how many people get injured from those falls. It just makes the whole hospital safer, and it's even flexible enough to work for all different kinds of patients. So how does this thing actually work? The real magic of the tool is in its simple but powerful structure. It's a scoring method that basically replaces guesswork with a clear, objective number. Now this is where it gets really clever. The tool breaks down risk into these concrete factors and gives them points, and the weighting of these points is what's so important. For instance, if a patient has had just one fall in the last 6 months, boom, that's 5 points. Why? Because research shows that's the single best predictor of a future fall. Same goes for being on high-risk medications. That's a big 5 points. And notice, cognition gets a high score too, because if a patient doesn't realize their own physical limits, that's a major red flag. And for a nurse or a doctor on the floor, the process is actually really simple. First, they assess the patient using all 7 categories, like the ones we just saw. Second, they just add up all the points to get a total fall risk score. And then third, they use that final number to place the patient into a specific risk category. This is the result. The categories are super clear and actionable. A score of 5 or less, that's low risk. Between 6 and 13 points, you're looking at moderate risk. And anything over 13 puts a patient in the high-risk group. And a higher score doesn't just mean a label, it actually triggers a whole different set of more intensive prevention plans. Okay, so the system makes sense, right? But the real question is, does it actually work in a busy hospital? Let's look at the real-world results, because a tool is only as good as the impact it makes. And the impact is, wow, it's pretty amazing. At their own hospital, the Johns Hopkins Hospital, using this tool helped them drop their overall fall rate by 21%. But get this, the rate of injuries from falls, they cut that by more than half, a 51% reduction. These are not just statistics. That's hundreds of real patients who are kept safe from serious harm. But of course, no predictive tool is a crystal ball, right? To really get how valuable this is, we have to look at the science behind it. You know, how accurate is it really? How good is it at predicting who will fall, and just as importantly, who won't? So in medicine, when we talk about accuracy, there are 2 really important terms: sensitivity and specificity. To put it simply, sensitivity is how well the tool catches the people who are truly at risk. Specificity is how well it correctly identifies the people who are not at risk. So a major study in 2018 looked at the JFRAT and found something really important. It has high sensitivity, but its specificity is a bit lower. So what does that mean in plain English? It means it is excellent at its main job, flagging patients who might be at risk of falling. And this really highlights a deliberate choice they made when designing it. The tool is built to cast a wide net. Yeah, it might flag a few patients who probably wouldn't have fallen anyway, but it does that to make absolutely sure it doesn't miss anyone who's truly in danger. It's a trade-off that, you have to admit, makes the right call by always erring on the side of patient safety. The success of a data-driven tool like this really opens up an exciting question for the future of medicine. I mean, think about it. We're getting really good at predicting falls. So what's next? What other patient risks, like infections or bad reactions to medicine, are we on the verge of being able to predict and prevent?